a.m. Okay. And we'll start off with the land acknowledgement. Associated Students recognizes and acknowledges the first people of this ancestral and unceded territory of the Fernandino Tautavion Band of Mission Indians that is now occupied by our campus of California State University Northridge. Honors their elders, past and present, and the descendants who are citizens of the Fernandino Tautavion Band of Mission Indians. Associated Students recognizes that the tribe is still here, and we are committed to lifting up their stories, culture, and community. We'll now go ahead and turn over to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able. Alrighty, thank you. I will go ahead and turn it over to our Attorney General for the roll call.
Okay. Vice President Anderson, Senator Bobnagry, Senator Chavez, Senator Doe, Senator Dunn, Senator Kaddish, Senator Iman Khan, Senator Owais Khan, Senator Mezabin, Senator Radionov, Senator Saravia, Senator Scher, Senator Tybee, Senator Toledo Carranza, Senator Tran. We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you, Golden. We'll now go ahead and move on to the approval of the agenda for today's meeting, November 20th. Is there a motion? Senator Tybee.
I move to approve the agenda for November 20th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second? Senator Doe, thank you. Any discussion? Alrighty, see none, the motion passes unanimously. We'll now go ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes for November 13th. Is there a motion? Senator Doe.
I move to approve the minutes from November 13th.
Thank you. Is there a second? Senator Tybee, thank you. Alrighty, any discussion? Alrighty, see none, the motion passes. We do have a special presentation this morning from Alex. She is from the Office of Equity and Compliance. I'm not for sure if she's running late. She just emailed me like 5 minutes ago and said she was on her way. So I'm not for sure where she is. Oh, and now Google decided to sign me out of all my accounts. That's so lovely. We will give her a minute or so, and then I guess we will move on to open forum. This is a good time to just kind of throw this out there. I want to remind you all, we have been discussing, Josie and I, that during special presentations, I understand you have your laptops up, but you will have to close them now during special presentations, just because people are taking the time out of their day to be here to present to you all, to kind of so you all can pass on the information to your constituents. So when there's a special presentation, hi, Alex, you will be asked to close your laptops. Alrighty. Alex, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours, but take your time. Right there. The podium is all yours. Yeah. And we will have your presentation pulled up right now.
So what I can do, I apologize for the large camera, but in the bag, I have some resources and materials just to share with everybody. I will just
Perfect. Yes, you can kind of all go to the bag after Senate and grab some. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. So first, I am so sorry. I have been here for about 10 months and I still don't know campus. So I thought ASI was in the bookstore complex and was asking a bunch of people and they were like, no, ma'am, you're in the wrong place. So anyway, I apologize for my tardiness. So my name is Alex Lohman. I'm the director for the Office of Equity and Compliance. And in the last few months, I've had a really cool opportunity to engage with students and student leadership, specifically Paige, as we look at some audits that have taken place regarding Title IX and discrimination and harassment and retaliation treatment across the CSU. And so in those conversations, I asked Paige if I could come and kind of connect with student leadership, just to share some of what's going on, how Title IX is actually a much more holistic engagement than I think a lot of students and faculty and staff really recognize. And then moreover, I wanted to get some input and some feedback from student leadership as OECs really rethinking what we do and how we engage and how we are more transparent with our student community. So with that, if I could go to the next slide. So when you think about Title IX or you think about the Office of Equity and Compliance, I don't think mental health is the first thing that pops to mind. I think everyone thinks that's the office where people go to get in trouble. And actually what we do is a lot more holistic than that. And so I wanted to take some time to share who my team is, who we are, the background we actually come with to the CSUN community, and then what the process looks like, very big picture. And then I wanted to go over some of those holistic obligations of our office. They are not only best practice, but they are actually state and federal law. And so I think kind of knowing that, hey, there are legal mechanisms in place to protect me in this more holistic academic support, I think may encourage more students to really reach out and access our services. And then student input. You know, it's no secret that Title IX and DHR practices are under a lot of scrutiny, not only from private auditors, but from state auditors and from the governor's office. And with that, I think it's actually a really good opportunity for students to have a lot more say and input into what happens in these critical processes that do impact you, if not on an individual level, but on a community level. Oh, awesome. Okay, so I first wanted to start with who my team is and how the process works. So I don't have headshots for everybody, mainly because I just onboarded 2 new folks, but you'll see me. I am the director. I'm also the acting Title IX coordinator and DHR administrator. A little bit of background about me. I was a lawyer for about 10 years before I came to CSUN. I was a litigator, and my specialty was representing teens and young adults who were victims of human trafficking and sexual exploitation. And then I also represented teens and young adults in the criminal justice system who were charged as adults. My deputy director is Olivia Sufi. She was also an attorney for about 10 years. She comes from immigration. Amy May is our senior investigator. She was a state investigator for the state of New York for a few years, and then we decided to convince her to move to California. Bianca Alvarez is our program and case coordinator, but our Title IX and DHR investigator. The 2 individuals with stars next to their name are CSUN alumna. And so what I love is they bring that student experience and professional experience as well. That also goes to Allison Secular, who's our onboarding program case coordinator, and then Richard Gaines, who is our newest investigator. He comes to us from CSU Fresno and was a police officer there for about 20 years before transitioning into investigations. So just, this is super big picture. If you take a look at the policy that governs what we do, it's like hundreds and hundreds of pages. But essentially, if anyone has concerns about any behavior on campus, they engage with us, they file a report, And then we do a little bit of investigation. And then if we determine, hey, this might be discrimination or this might be some type of harassment, we will open a formal investigation. But if we don't see it, but maybe the conduct is something we don't want to accept as a CSUN community, we will get involved and engage and kind of put some supportive measures in place. Okay, so what I wanted to do is, if folks are brave enough, just kind of get a quick snapshot. If you've heard about the Offices of Equity and Compliance, or if you've heard about Title IX or the Title IX office, what have you heard? Because I think that feedback is super important to me as I'm looking to try and change how we're engaging with student communities. So I guess show of hands before today, how many of you had even heard of the Office of Equity and Compliance? Okay, that's encouraging. For those of you who did, any like snapshots, like, oh, that's the office I called when I had a registration hold, or anything like that?
Hi. Yeah, what I've heard about Title IX was more of like, if I'm not wrong, it goes along with NSO.
It can, yes.
Yes, and I've seen I'm also a musical theater minor, and we got like the acting opportunities for Title IX. And but yeah, that's all I've heard of.
Which is really cool. By the way, can I get your first name?
Lorena.
Lorena. So what Lorena is mentioning is that essentially at new student orientation, if you participated, instead of having like boring people like me talk about Title IX and put people to sleep, we engage student theater troupes and acting troupes to kind of demonstrate scenarios in higher ed to make it a little bit more relatable to our new students. So, awesome. Anything else?
Hi, my name is Samantha, just so yes. So all I've heard from Title IX is obviously in student government, we often hear, hey, like that we're working with Title IX. I know that we had some conversations about it, but also through I know that we have to take a Title IX, I think it's a class or like a survey before we technically are able to, it's a part of like a registration for class, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
That mandatory, partially boring training you have to do about Title IX. Fun fact, employees have to do it. And in the first couple of weeks that I was here, I did it and I was like, okay, if this is what I do for a living and this is a little dry, we need to change this. So that's one of the things that my team is working on right now. Okay, next slide. So broad strokes, what we do, we oversee all complaints of discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. So that's not just Title IX. Title IX is protections based off of any type of sex or gender-based discrimination in higher education. But we also look at claims that involve any protected status. So race, national origin, disability, marital status, veteran status, the list goes on. And so what that translates to is that my mighty team that I showed you in the beginning is responsible for about 46,000 people on this campus in a given day. So it's a lot of work, but we enjoy the work. But the second bullet point is what I really wanted to emphasize today is that we work to provide accommodations and supportive measures for individuals who may be involved in any investigation, but also even if we don't accept something for investigation, but a student or faculty or staff says, I'm not feeling safe or comfortable or supported, we get involved. And it's a really kind of creative, interactive process that we have to make sure that everyone has access to their education and their employment. And then we engage the community like I'm doing today, just to make sure that everyone understands our university's commitment to inclusion, compliance, and equity. Fun fact, if you did not know, Cal State Northridge is the most diverse campus in the entire CSU of 23 campuses. And that's different measures, race, gender, sex, lived experiences, age. We really are one of the most inclusive campuses. I say that as an alumna of the CSU. I graduated from Cal State Long Beach, and it's something that I'm super proud of at Northridge, but it's something that makes my office's work that much more important, kind of the heightened obligation that we bring to the work that we do. For those of you who are like, she keeps talking about this policy and definitions, if you want to look at where the definitions come from, they're provided by the Chancellor's Office. In this document called the CSU Non-Discrimination Policy, you can literally Google it and it comes up. It's a nice online format where you can kind of hyperlink and control find a bunch of good information. So if you're just curious, I always say poke around. Show of hands, how many of you are thinking about a career in the law? Okay, what I can say is the work that we do is quasi-legal. So if you're looking at, hey, what does a statute look like, or what might a law look like that I'm going to engage in my profession? Take a look at that, because that policy incorporates state and federal laws. So the big takeaway, the holistic approach, I kind of just wanted to talk about some of those measures and just have our student leaders equipped with that information. So like I mentioned, we are quasi or partly legal. And so in that respect, a lot of people think if I get in trouble with Title IX, like I'm doomed. It's done, that's it. There's a lot of due process that's built into it and means that you have protections, both as a student who's concerned about conduct, but a student who may be accused of misconduct as well. I think the CSU policy is probably the most due process friendly in terms of higher education. But really the big takeaway is those supportive and interim measures. So, you know, say something has happened and you're struggling in class, or you're a student athlete and you're not sure if you feel comfortable in that space. We work with campus leadership to make sure that, hey, you know, if you're concerned about a professor and you filed a report, we'll make sure that there's an independent grader, so you don't feel like your professor is going to retaliate against you in your grade. If the professor makes you feel uncomfortable and there's another section, we'll work with the department leadership and slide you into that other section. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do in this space to support you. And then we access other resources, right? I'm not a therapist, although I kid sometimes that my job is a little bit like being a therapist. But we have really great resources on campus, like our campus care advocates. They're amazing. University counseling services, our student health center, I work with them a lot, and general academic supports. And then we really pride our trauma-informed engagement. And I think that's from years of just being a litigator. The courts are probably the least trauma-informed friendly place you will ever find. And so I've had a lot of years of experience kind of trying to soften the blow and educate people through that process. And then moreover, just to note that, like I said, you don't have to come in and say that I'm going to file a formal complaint and I want all of these big university policies to kick in, just to get basic supports. At the core of it, state and federal law says that we have an obligation to make sure that you have a meaningful opportunity to access not only your education and your degree, but activities that come with it. So that doesn't just mean I got to make sure that your professor supports you in the classroom. If you want to do something and something standing in your way, I have a legal obligation to make sure that I remove that barrier for you. So it's a lot more holistic than I think a lot of people think. I kind of jumped ahead, my apologies. What I did want to bring to you is I don't think enough students know about this holistic piece, and as student leaders, I'm hoping that you can take this information back into the communities that you're engaged with here on campus. But I'm also really on a mission to try and debunk some ideas and I guess like myths of what OEC is. What I'm hearing a lot on campus right now is that OEC kind of sounds like this black hole that people go into and then no one knows what happens, which is really sad because we're a really transparent office. And moreover, if you get to know my team, we're actually pretty nice people, I would think. And so I'm trying to let people know that we're not just some scary office in Valeria Hall. We're actually here because we love the work. We love the students we get to serve. And we want to see you succeed at the core of it. So outside of this job, I'm also a lecturer. I teach constitutional law. And so my experience in the classroom really informs how I run this office and what I do in this office. And so I don't say, you know, we want to see you succeed as like the company line. I say that because student success and engagement is the whole reason why I do what I do. And I want to make sure students feel that from us instead of just like, oh, I can go there if I need to file a complaint. We're here to see you succeed. And then our best practices, I just wanted to let people know that we don't just go around campus saying it and then don't practice what we preach. And that's why I want to educate people about who my team is and the experience they come with. Because sometimes people come into the office and they're like, well, what does it take to be an investigator? Do you just like read a handbook and then apply the rules? It actually takes a lot of skill, a lot of legal training. No one's really walking into this office just kind of like, oh, I thought this was an interesting job. We have lawyers, veteran investigators, law enforcement officers. And so in that sense, we come with a lot of experience, but that is also to say that we also have a lot to learn, right? A lot of people look at us and they're like, cool, how does that mid-30s woman relate to me? I try. I'm not the coolest person in the world, but I try. And that's where student engagement is really important to us because we know we have a lot to learn to move the needle forward. And then really the big kind of selfish part of why I came today is the student input piece. And so it's like I mentioned at the beginning, it's no surprise that we've been under some audits. Has anyone taken a look at the audits or at least seen the news about kind of what's been going on and why is the CSU under review? Okay. Well, selfishly, that makes me feel a little better because every time I walk into a room, I'm like, okay, here we go. But really, the CSU, I values community and diversity. But I think what was happening for quite a while is that a lot of institutions didn't realize the amount of resources and time that it takes to really implement these laws. And so what was happening was before I came to Northridge, our office was one investigator and one support person for 46,000 people. And that poor investigator, Amy May, was doing as best as she could. But when we get 10 to 12 reports a day, that's a lot for one woman to ask, even with some pretty incredible experience that she brings. And so what the audits demonstrated is that other parts of the CSU leadership weren't quite in tune with what these laws meant. And so now the California government and private auditors are looking in to see, hey, what do we actually need to invest to make sure that we're supporting student, staff, and faculty? And so in this audit process, it's been hard because there's a lot of negative feedback, but you learn from falling down and getting back up, right? And so what I'm kind of viewing as a silver lining here is that a lot of people are more amenable to speaking up. And our campus leadership is really listening right now to figure out how we reform what we do. And so one of the big things that I was charged with thinking about was how do I engage students? We were kind of kidding, I guess, that OEC could do some tabling, but what student wants to walk up to the Title IX table and be like, hi, my name's so-and-so, what do you do? There's a stigma, right? No one wants to be like, oh, I saw so-and-so going into Valera Hall. I wonder what's going on. And so what I wanted to get some feedback from you is kind of based off of the high level information I've given today and more just general reflection on your own experiences. What can we be doing to really kind of engage that dialogue? So what compels you to speak up? What prevents you from voicing your concerns or your opinions? And how do we kind of rebrand the stigma of Title IX, if that makes sense? Because if you think about it, Title IX is actually meant to be a positive piece of legislation to protect everyone. But in our day-to-day, it has the negative connotation, the boring trainings, new student orientation, someone got in trouble. And that's part of what we do, but that's a very small part of what we do. So I guess in the last few minutes that I have with you, I kind of wanted to open this conversation if anyone felt brave enough to give me some feedback. Yeah.
My name is Nick. Thank you so much for your presentation, and it's extremely eye-opening. And I feel like much more confident now about all of this and Title IX, because before, like you said, it really was like a black hole, if you will. And one thing that came to mind is, and I remember overlooking like police reports in the past, and that is extremely open and public. But I understand how there may be some limitations with that regarding Title IX. But at least with there, I was able to get more of an idea, like a direct visual of what's being done and everything that was logged. So that was nice. But at least one thing with Title IX, like what you were talking about at the end, is I feel like with all of the media that I've seen about that, or the videos that I've seen, it was very focused on sexual harassment.
Mhm.
And so hearing about how it's a much more holistic approach is really, really surprising, but in a very positive way. And I think some more marketing around that, or perhaps modifying the website to include that. Like, I'm not sure if it includes a separate application, like if there's one for sexual harassment and one for like anything related to class about a professor or anything like that. So I didn't even know, like, I didn't even know that that was a thing. But it's great to hear, and those are just some thoughts that came to my mind.
No, Nick, thank you, because you're the first person who's brought it to my attention of, hey, why not have a separate reporting forum? Of like, hey, I want to, let you know about some alleged misconduct. Hey, I just need support. I'm not ready to go through the whole rigmarole of an investigation, but could you just help me out? We get a lot of students who walk in and have that concern. But it's quicker if there's like an Instagram link where you can just fill out a quick form, or if you can go to our website and see that. I really love that suggestion. And I'm totally stealing that and taking that back. So thank you. I really appreciate that. That's amazing. Thank you. And to your point about, reviewing what we do, you're right that there is a level of confidentiality that comes into the work that my office does. We are not strictly confidential, but if someone feels safe enough to file a report with us, the worst thing that we could do is go around campus and be like, so-and-so accused so-and-so of this, right? That really undercuts the whole trauma-informed approach. But I think we could engage with that in a different way. I've been thinking about doing an Instagram account that has just little like 3-minute videos about certain sections of what we do. And so making kind of like a dummy report. Fun fact, reports in our office are anywhere from like 15 to 50 pages. They're pretty extensive. That's also part of what takes us a long time. So maybe just walking through that and being like, here's all that's in there. And for some of our future lawyers, that could be a little bit educational too about, hey, this is actually what a judicial opinion looks like. So if you wanted to know where we get it from the courts. So awesome. Thank you, Nick. Any other feedback or thoughts? Yes.
Yes, I agree with Nick too. I feel like tabling will be a great idea, but it is not as much because I know it's not as approachable to students. Probably students will be like, oh no, people are like knowing what is happening in my life or something like that. So it makes sense. I'll say make it as in like activities that are more approachable to students that doesn't really emphasize a purpose. I know that you guys want to emphasize a purpose and the mission, but sometimes it might be a little scary. And so it will be like more of fun activities and stuff like that. So students can be able to approach you guys with all of the stuff. And also when it comes to the, I didn't know about all of the resources that there is in the office. I only knew about Title IX, but probably there's more need for marketing.
Okay. Yeah. We've been thinking about, certain months of awareness, our office being a lot more visible, not just being there to push like Title IX pamphlets, but like, hey, this is where, a cultural heritage month directly implicates discrimination, harassment, retaliation. We're here to support that community because that's part of it. We respond, but we also want to be preventative and some of the outreach that we're doing. So maybe that's kind of where we integrate it and remove the mission, if you will, and just be more supportive to the community. Okay.
Agreeing with what everybody has said so far, I actually didn't know this office like existed in this sense. I thought it was just Title IX. But with the title of the office, equity and compliance, like equity is like a really hot word right now. Like,
Okay.
so I feel like you could leverage off of that. That's something that all students want, like no matter what they're going through.
So like tabling and taking that approach of equity, and then like obviously presenting those like Title IX protections that students have. And then I really like the campus care advocate title because it's just like someone to advocate for you. Like that's how I read it, like advocation and caring for students outside of that like Title IX bubble, if you will. So I feel like if students were to fully understand what the office has to offer outside of Title IX, because like we're saying, it's like a scary, stigma-filled title, they can really benefit off of it. I know that a student, like a friend, has approached me about a professor they're uncomfortable with, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I was trying to research. I told them to talk to the chair, but I didn't know they could come here. So yeah, like really broadening that range of students you're reaching out to.
So I love your point about leveraging equity, and also fun fact about our campus care advocates, why advocacy is in the name is yes, they're clinical mental health support services, but they also have case management services of like, hey, let me help you access resources outside of CSUN. Let me help you advocate with Title IX. They're really great in that work. But kind of seizing on your point about leveraging equity. So we obviously go to new student orientation. We go to some department meetings when we're invited. We go to Greek life, athletics. But those are kind of the usual tick the box of students we talk to. And I've been really trying to think about how we get more environments like this and we start leveraging that term of this is what equity actually means to you. And so I guess a follow-up question I have for the group are what are student opportunities or events that my office is really missing the opportunity to be there and engage with students?
I think the cultural clubs that we have on campus,
Okay.
even like the Black House and the Glen Umatsu House would be great to reach out to because those are like hotspots for like minorities. So I think the cultural clubs would be great.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Hi, my name is Yvette. I want to just add on to Iman's point about the cultural clubs. Regarding like university counseling services, we have a great UCS program, and the UCS program also does a really great job marketing themselves to students and letting students know that they're there and available for them. But yet sometimes it is really intimidating to go to the UCS. So what I know the UCS does is that sometimes they go to the cultural homes themselves and they host like nights where students are more comfortable being in their spaces and talking to UCS. So perhaps having the Office of like Equity, maybe visiting the cultural homes, that might be a really interesting thing to explore. I also first learned about like your office and the Title IX office when I attended the Greek 101 session that was hosted by Olivia.
Yes.
And it was really great. I was so like surprised, but also in a really good way, by how welcoming and encouraging the office was about even just stopping by to like get some candy or just to say hi. I think it really does break down that, like I had this mental barrier of like how intimidating that process might be. So having the office folk make that first initial like reach their hand out first to talk to students, that totally made it seem a lot more approachable. So I think that also maybe taking more untraditional approaches to reaching out to students might be able to break down these mental barriers students have about like how they view the office. So maybe tabling, even though like when you're tabling, students might not come up and be like, oh, by the way, I'm going to file this right now. They at least just know that there's someone there for them. I think that might be something interesting to explore.
Yeah. The candy piece, I will let you know that's actually a trauma-informed approach. So when I used to work with teens and young adults and they would have to testify in court, you can imagine being on a witness stand when you're 16 and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, the whole world is looking at me. I used to like ply my clients with Starburst. Because what it does is it splits the attention of your brain of like, ooh, strawberry, but also I'm talking about really hard things. And so it helps relax your brain because your brain has to be in two different places. But also then I've just learned that my whole office loves the pink bag only of Starburst. So I got a Costco subscription just so we can always be stocked. So if you happen to like Starburst, that is the candy of choice. But it's also just one of those trauma-informed techniques that we bring to it. But we started doing some coffee talks with the Pride Center of just about certain issues that our LGBTQIA community was facing and what we could do to either reform our policies or be a little bit more prevention focused in certain areas. And I think kind of marrying the two ideas, maybe engaging with our cultural houses, not just in a general sense, but like kind of an intimate kind of coffee talk of, hey, coffee with the director. This is what we're seeing. This is what we need help with. So it's not just filing a report. It's more like, hey, on behalf of the community, I want you to be aware of some things. Yeah, I think I'd like the bridging those two ideas.
So I'm a part of the like academic grade grievance appeal committee, and although we don't necessarily do the direct investigations, there's still students who hear about them and are able to give some assistance to those who do deal with the actual investigation. So I was just wondering if maybe you guys have like a committee or a student advocate that's maybe on board. I know that at least the investigations that we do there are still they still end up maybe even coinciding with something that the professor may have done or vice versa, or a student may have done something. So although these students do hear, the purpose is to give direct communication to those who do deal with the investigations. So I'm not sure if that's something that we could set in place, or it doesn't even need to be as explicit, like say exactly X student or X professor, but maybe, or X faculty, whatever. But maybe do more of like a situational basis where you represent them as like X and Y person, and more of a situational basis to get some student opinion as to what those things would go on for.
Yeah, and you hit on a big point that one of the audits said. It's like, yes, you are a compliance office, you implement laws, but you implement laws for students. And that gap in the bridging that gap in voice, if you will, is missing. And so one of our mandates for the next year is to kind of create a student advisory committee. I would generally say, I think I passed around my card. If you have thoughts about what that advisory committee should look like, what it should do, because it's very nascent in its beginnings right now, because of that confidentiality piece, it's not quite going to be the level that like a grade grievance appeal would be. But I want to use that opportunity to engage students, to demystify the process, but then also have them be ambassadors. But I want it to be a cool ambassador, not like just oh, I work for the Title IX office. So any input on how I make it cooler, please let me know, because this is something I think about a lot. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that in the next year or so. We're starting to build it.
It's really hard for me to think of how you can make this cooler other than just really showcase how important it is and how holistic it is. One thing that comes to mind, at least maybe to get around a little bit of the confidentiality concern, is to showcase like data, maybe survey people afterwards and see how they felt. And then once you garner like a few hundred surveys, you can make like a chart out of it, and it shows how people feel going through the process. Maybe that's something that can be presented during new student orientation. Like just from this presentation alone, like just the 7-ish minute presentation, like my view entirely changed and it doesn't feel as much of a black hole anymore. So I still feel like new student orientation presentations after the theater performance is valuable. And I think data could be helpful too.
I like your point about it's hard to be cool in this space, but it's easy to impart importance. And I think if you kind of equip a student ambassador with the importance of the obligation and the message, maybe that's how we get on equal footing in that space. That's a really good point. Thank you.
I'm part of the diversity inclusion committee, and we hold like a diversity inclusion week every year in the spring semester. And so and we're still on the works for it with the committee, but we will be also we're trying to hold like tabling as well. So I don't know if you were aware of that. And then and I have another question. Have you also worked with the Dream Center by any chance?
Yes. Dream Center, what I love is our deputy director came from an immigration background. So she's been doing a lot more meaningful clinics about where does laws and policies intersect with the work that we do. And with her expertise, how our holistic approach is a lot more different than other campuses because she has that institutional knowledge. But as a lot of folks in the Dream Center have told us, hey, even just interacting with officials of any title in any community is really terrifying, and rightfully so. And so we're in conversations with leadership about how we make it a little bit more, not just approachable, but comfortable. Like the coffee talks with the Pride Center, it's not easy, but easier to engage students to come and talk to us. Dream Center is a really vulnerable community that we're really trying to be intentional about how we're engaging with to make sure that students don't feel like it's just another layer of government bureaucracy that often, and again, rightfully so, has a really negative stigma. So.
Adding to what Nick said, I feel like reaching out to the presidents of the clubs will be a great idea. I know that there's a club for dreamers, which is Dreamers to be Heard, and they're still looking out for things to be part of, and so I feel like that would be a great idea as well.
That's a really good point. I could reach out to the Matador Involvement Center and get a list and start making that individual engagement. Well, awesome.
I have a comment real quick, if that's okay.
Oh, please.
Awesome. So it's just so nice to hear everyone's perspective too, because obviously I'm on the committee, but I think hearing other students' perspectives is really cool. So I just was browsing at other CSU Office of Equity and Compliance like websites, and I noticed for ours, like right when you log on, especially when we live in such a digital environment, people are constantly visiting websites or social media, and it's very like Title IX,
Mhm.
domestic violence, like very charged words. And I just don't see much of like the other like accommodations. And so if we could maybe, I know that there's a new website, but if we could even add a couple more where it's not just all things Title IX, because I think that could shift people's perspectives and it's more easier to understand. And I know too, it looks like I just noticed I called probably Pomona that they also have on the website like, oh, we request or we help students with religious accommodations or maybe pregnant or parental and nursing accommodation requests. So I think even including those two, just because I know that a lot of our students on campus do request time off for religious reasons. And so I know that sometimes they've had negative, responses from professors. And so if they could go through the office, it'd probably have a better turnout.
Yeah, your point about the website is a hill that I am currently dying on right now. Candidly, we just redid our website and I tell you, I still hate it. If you check out other CSU campuses, one of my favorites is actually Cal Poly Humboldt. It's the feedback that I've gotten from the community is that it's a little juvenile. And so maybe I would up the visuals just a bit, but the color tone is super trauma informed. It's not black and red. And I know those are our school colors, but those are the most agitating colors on the color palette. So I want to kind of step away from use of those colors. They have like just cute little graphics and then just like a ticker of like, hey, this is happening on campus, pregnancy accommodations. It's super easy. And I keep saying, this is what I want. But it's ongoing is the way I will put it. So what I can say is in that space, if you're looking at our website and you're like, wow, I get why she hates it. Don't be afraid to put that in writing and send it to me, because to Nick's point about data, it helps me build a case of it's not just me and my stylistic preferences. It's actually our student community who feels similarly. But I absolutely agree with all those comments on our website. All right. Well, I think my last slides were really just kind of Q&A, and then our supportive resources outside of us, there we are in our contact information. Our DPS, I work with DPS on a daily basis, and what I can say is you have got some of the most trauma-informed law enforcement officers I've ever seen. That's a big statement from me as a former public defender. And if you don't know what a public defender does, they usually cross-examine cops on a daily basis. And in my legal practice, I don't think I ever found a police officer I liked. And I came here and people were like, oh, you'll actually like DPS. I was like, nope, It's in my blood. And then I really worked with our interim chief and our deputy chief, and I was like, oh, okay, I have to humble myself. This is a good group. And then our campus care advocates that we mentioned at UCS, so supports outside of us. And then on my card is my email, and then our office. Like I said, if you just want to come in and grab a handful of candy, we've got it. Just come say hi. I think that's the best part of what we do. So with that, I think that's all I've got. But I just wanted to say thank you. I really, really appreciate this opportunity. Because it's, you know, I think a lot of people give us feedback and sometimes it's a little bit duplicative, but I walked away with about 4 brand new ideas that people in very high positions on this campus didn't even think of. And so thank you. That's why that student voice, I'm not just saying it to like kind of placate or humor the individuals in this room. It does matter. Because we get stuck in our point of view and how we do the day-to-day. We need people on the outside to be like, I didn't know this, but this seems like a simple fix. So thank you. And if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to contact me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here, Alex. And you are one of the coolest people I know. So let's just put that out there. Alex is amazing. And honestly, just truly incredible work that the office is doing. And I'm so proud to be part of the I team. So yeah, thank you once again. And obviously, if anyone has any further comments or questions, you have her card. And you can always, if you need her email, I have it too, in case you didn't get a chance to get her card. Alrighty, we will now, move on to open forum. Open forum is intended as an opportunity for any member of the public to address the Associate Student Senate regarding any issues affecting CSUN students. Speakers are allowed 3 minutes each to speak. Please sign in using the clipboard for minute recording purposes. And James is already here. Probably gonna steal half my report, but that's okay.
I usually do. So, well, I apologize for not being here last week. But I heard that Kevin was here, so it's okay. Apparently he gave my report spectacularly. Good morning, everyone. My name is James Forster. I serve as the AS program manager. Sorry, I almost wrote my name in the description. Event updates. So just providing you all with an update about some past as well as future events. So last week we had America Recycles Day, which went well. We were blessed by the rain about halfway through the event. So it ended up ending a little bit early, but whenever you get people together who wholeheartedly believe in sustainability as like a core mission value, being blessed by the rain like that honestly made the event even better, even though it had to end. So we were really happy with how that event turned out. Additionally, last week we had a big lecture with Danny Trejo. We had a total of 414 tickets that were used for that event. So we sold 750 free tickets and had 414 people show up for it, which is pretty good. So if any of you attended the event, you'll know that it was honestly a great time. So we were super happy about that. Just looking ahead, there is no farmers market this week. There's no farmers market tomorrow. If any of you rely on the market for like food on Tuesdays, just so you all are aware, there is no market tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving week, and historically it is not a very busy week on campus. Looking forward though to the remaining weeks that we have. So next week we have our 3rd refill and repair market. For those markets, you can bring in a glass jar and get a refill of soap, shampoos, body wash and conditioner, things like that. Or you can bring in clothing items or small bags to get repaired if it needs like a small hole patched or a zipper replaced or something like that. So that'll be our next market, week 14 on November 28th. And then looking ahead to week 15, we have 2 events, our final 2 events of the semester. On Monday, December 4th, we'll have our finals are a drag event, which is a drag bingo event hosted in the Northford Center from 5 to 7 p.m. And then our final farmers market on December 5th will be our annual Winter Fest market. If any of you are looking for last minute holiday gifts for people, come by the market, check out some of our craft stuff, as well as some of the items that you can just buy at the market as well. With that being said, that's everything for me. Thank you all.
Thank you, James. Are there any questions? Alrighty, good to see you again this week. Anyone else here for open forum? All right. righty, see none, we'll move on to reports, starting with mine. Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a good weekend and enjoying the cooler weather. I don't like the wind, but that's okay. Let's see. First of all, Web 2 is live, which is so exciting. I really want to thank Tyler and Ariana and the marketing team just for everything that they've done. I know it's been a challenge, but it's finally live. So if you haven't checked out our new website, check it out. If you notice any like broken links or anything that doesn't look right, let us know. We want to fix that as soon as possible, just so it's fully updated and in her best form. Alrighty, so that's really exciting. And just again, thank you so much to our marketing team. Last week was the groundbreaking for the Affordable Student Housing Project. That was a great turnout, except it did pour, but that's okay. This is awesome because they're adding an additional 200 beds to student housing. And I think this is definitely a step in the right direction because there were just about 2,000 students on the wait list this year for housing. So 200 beds, we're moving in the right direction. Also, I wanted to thank Daniela Cross and Josie and Calvin for attending the campus safety walk last week. It was quite interesting and fun even though it was pouring rain again that day. But I think it was just awesome to see all the several individuals that were out there kind of documenting anything that may be hazardous or unsafe for our students. Especially now that it gets a lot darker earlier. Students are still on campus, even though it's like practically nighttime. And so we want to ensure that the lights are on and that there's any cracks in the floor, no scooters could get stuck in there and cause some problems. Big lecture, James mentioned that, but I thought it was an amazing turnout. And definitely Danny Trejo is such a special individual. He just is filled with so much wisdom. And he mentioned something that even Dr. Watkins and I kind of were talking about, that he said this, that everything that happened to him, all the good things that happened to him were because of the good acts or deeds that he carried out for other people, which is really special. It's just kind of a reminder for you. And this kind of reminds me of a quote from Princess Diana, who I'm obsessed with, but she says, carry out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward, safe in the knowledge that one day someone might do the same for you. So just with the holidays kind of approaching, just a reminder to be nice, be kind to everyone. And yeah. Also, last week, I met with Dr. Watkins and President Beck. They were, first of all, just so excited to see such increased engagement across campus this semester, even with big lecture and just tons of other events we've had. So good job. Keep the good work up, everyone. We also just discussed the strike and how kind of communication is being sent out. So essentially, it's being sent out directly from the chancellor's office down to like their office and then down to like faculty and staff and students. So I'll be meeting with more kind of campus marketing and communication administrators just to ensure that the language that's being put out to students is very understandable. And obviously the content as well is something that you all can understand and even relate to your own peers and everything. We also discussed the Graduation Initiative 2025 or the GI 2025. There was a meeting last week where they just discussed updates when it comes to more specifically to our campus, not just the entire CSU system. So that was really awesome. And they didn't get a chance to talk about the Seal of Excellencia that CSUN received or the Black Student Success Initiative, So they're going to have hopefully another meeting to talk about those things and to further talk about the GI 2025 goals and kind of updates. So when they have that, I will let you all know. So hopefully we'll all get invited if you can attend. It's a really awesome event to know kind of how our campus is doing in relation to the goals set by the chancellor's office. There is a personnel board meeting on Tuesday or tomorrow, and Josie and I are kind of wrapping up our duties with the Chief of Police Search Committee. But yeah, definitely a little bit of a slower week this week, just given the holidays. But just want to remind you all that campus is closed on Thursday and Friday, so hopefully you all get lots of rest over the break. If you have any questions or need anything, let me know. So yeah, enjoy your holiday. Are there any questions on my report? Yes.
Do you know when there will be like a decision for the chief of police?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now the committee is wrapping up kind of the recommendations, and then it gets sent to the Vice President of Finance, Colin Donahue, and President Beck, and then they will make their decision. So I don't have a say when they will make their decision, but it will definitely be announced via email, and I obviously will let you all know when they make their decision. Yeah, and to kind of touch on that also, we're hoping that next semester, when they do pick the chief, we'll have a kind of conversation with the chief and with President Beck, kind of like a campus conversations as to, you know, why this individual's in this role and kind of their hopes and goals being the chief. Any further questions? Alrighty, I'm also reading Josie's report today. She isn't feeling too well, so I will go ahead and read it. So she says, I apologize for my absence, but I'm not feeling well and wanted to be safe so we can stop the spread before the holidays. I hope you all had a great weekend. Let's power through the next few days and then have a restful holiday break. And she hopes that you're able to spend some time with loved ones. But if you ever need someone to hang out with or talk to, feel free to reach out to her. And I also second that. If you ever need anyone, let me know. Otherwise, we've been planning lots of great things for next semester. Remember to keep January 11th and 19th open for our leadership training and reboot camp. Speaking of that, I'm literally going to send an email right now to you all to RSVP for reboot camp. It just includes a link. I was looking to see who RSVP'd and I don't see many names on there from Senate. So just RSVP literally right now if you can. It's like 5 questions. And it's going to be really fun too. So yeah, you should have gotten the email. And then she says either next week or the week after, the results from the Matador Confession survey will be completed and will be presented at Senate for you all to see and then for you all to further look over. I'm so proud of the work we've all done this semester, but know we will achieve even greater things in the spring. I will see you all next Monday for one of our last few Senate meetings of 2023. So yeah, that's Josie's report. Are there any questions? Yes.
Permission to be recognized?
Granted. Alrighty. Any questions on Josie's report? Alrighty, seeing none, we'll go and turn over to our Chief of Staff, Ryan, for her report.
Hello, everyone. I know it's been a few weeks that you have not seen me. They have been rough. Flying too many times is not recommended, so please don't do that. I really strongly recommend against that. But in the last 2 weeks, I will say that our awesome Model United Nations team here on campus came back with victory in our awards, including our Senator Radionov. So congrats to us. It was really awesome. We actually won the highest awards for our committee between Peter and I. We were partners, so it was very much worthwhile. Just throwing that in there. Within the last few weeks of my absence, our amazing Chair of Finance had actually chaired the cabinet meeting 2 weeks ago. So thank you, Chair of Finance. I already am almost done with our second round of check-ins for cabinet, and I'm glad to say that our focus is very much focused on mental health. Obviously, if our mental health is not strong enough or we're still struggling, we won't be able to exceed our expectations, nor are we able to serve our students with excellence like they deserve. So and based on our check-ins, I've heard so many amazing plans for next semester that are going to be fulfilled. And our goal is to create a timeline so that they get exceeded within the right amount of time for next spring semester. And so I'm so excited for that, and I can't wait for you all to hear that I'll be able to report next semester. In regards to cabinet, although they don't have much to report this week, I know that they're working very diligently within their committees and they're working hard to fulfill their duties. The committees are flourishing, and the Senate representatives of those cabinet member committees know that our chairs are doing awesome in chairing those committees. So they're doing great. I had the opportunity to attend our chair of communications committee, and she's doing so awesome with the videos with our marketing team. So I can't wait for you guys to all see those social media posts that are being put out there. Also, I had a personal concern with the business college that I actually attended a meeting with one of the professors there, Professor Pike. He was able to express some insight to our website. So I'm not sure if you're all familiar with the 302 classes that our business students have to attend. So there's these 302 classes that our students have to attend. And the only issue is that there was a separate website that we had to go search on. And so something that I just brought to his attention is to seeing if that could be possible to incorporate that in our Canvas website. And he said it would. So I'm so excited to see that being incorporated on our Canvas website. So hopefully that'll get done. Aside from that, that is all I have to report today. And I hope you all have an awesome and amazing week. Thank you.
Thank you to our Chief of Staff. Are there any questions on her report? Alrighty, seeing none, we'll go ahead and turn it over to our Chair of Finance for her report.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to say I hope everyone is doing well and reiterating like the common message, just taking care of yourself, making sure you're well rested and, ready to take on finals and whatnot with the end of the semester approaching. I'll go ahead and share the account balances as of right now. Within the STAR, we have $171,130. Unassigned contingency, $746,149. Clubs and orgs assigned, 15,000, same as Phil. In clubs and orgs travel, we have $5,732. Moving on to my report, we have the really new exciting launch of Web 2, transitioning over from Web 1. And while the design of the site is really slick, on my end for finance, I'm a little bit concerned with how the layout is, just because it's not very accessible. I think already for students to be engaging with AS Finance, it can be really intimidating with all the forms we have in financial processes in place. And so Web 2 doesn't have any of like the icons or images for students, which I think like makes it more fun and less serious. So I think I'll be working with marketing, hi Ariana, soon, just to kind of make sure the links are in the right places. Like right now, I know whoever did the transition from Web 1 to Web 2, some of the links are hidden within like AS Academics or something like that. It's just not in the right place where I need it to be. And originally when we were doing like our Finance 101 presentations, we would have all the hyperlinks set up and all these resources were communicated out to students. And now I'm having students come to me saying like, oh, there's no more annual budget form. And with our budget closing December 4th, I'm going to be communicating this change out to students and student club leadership soon. One, as a reminder that the annual budget is closing, but two, just to let them know that the site is running and that AS Finance is here to help them with any issues that arise. So I'll be working on that this coming week. Additionally, Finance Committee, we're doing our committee deliberations for the annual budgets in January from January 16th, which is a Tuesday, to the 18th, which is a Thursday. Our committee deliberations are just for the committee. And this is like the new process that we're doing this year where we're not doing budget hearings. We're just doing straight committee hearings. So it'll be 16 to 18 and then the 19th will be AS Reboot Camp. And AS Finance, we're set to continue meeting at 12 p.m. from 12 to 3 p.m. On Mondays. And we'll be doing so next semester as well. And that concludes my report for today. Thank you.
Thank you to our Chair of Finance. Are there any questions? Alrighty, seeing none, we'll go ahead and turn it over to our Attorney General.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just gonna briefly say, I hope that you're all prepared to finish out this semester strong, get everything out of those committees and make some really good, meaningful progress with our last few weeks. Also, if anyone's interested in performing any kind of community service in our neighborhood, some things are being worked out with the neighborhood council about kind of things we're going to do, most of it regarding either a cleanup or helping to remove growing weeds from the rain. So if anyone's interested, let me know and we can make something happen. And otherwise, continue to be your amazing selves. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you, Golden. Any questions for our Attorney General's report? Yes.
I just had a quick question about office hours this week and how that might be organized.
Yes, so if you have office hours on a day when the office is closed, then you will be excused from them. Yes.
Yes, we can work that out. If you have any questions on that, let us know further. Moving on to standing committee reports. I don't see anyone from external affairs. Does anyone from external affairs want to give a brief report? I don't see the chair or vice chair here.
So we met over,
Go for it, Melita.
yeah, we met over Zoom last meeting. I think we were not able to meet the quorum because it was raining. We just had an informal chat and we went over the resolution and edited it. So that's pretty much.
Thank you so much. And can we just give a round of applause for Melita for being here? It is so exciting to see you, and we're just so glad that you were on your path to healing. So thank you again for being here. And if you need anything, always let us know. Alrighty, thank you for that update then. We'll go ahead and turn over to internal affairs. And it looks like we do have a motion out of committee, but Senator Tyvia will give the floor is yours.
So currently, we just have one referral in internal affairs that we're looking at, and that's also on diversity and inclusion, and that's to modify the chairs code. So there'll be something that we're reviewing in there. But that's all. We're not going to be meeting tomorrow. We only have one referral, and it's also Thanksgiving week, and we'll be able to get it next week. But with what we have now with motion out of the committee, this reflects a few changes. This is to review and revise the AS Diversity and Inclusion Guide. And so now the chair is responsible to revise this every semester. And then we also clarified the attendance policy farther. And so it's much more specific and includes what's excused and what isn't, and the amount of excused and unexcused absences you can have, which I believe was just carried over from some other codes that we looked at for other positions.
Thank you. Yes, if anyone wants to further review this amendment, it is attached again to your agenda. Are there any discussion on this motion? Already seen none. All those in favor of approving the updated Diversity and Inclusion Committee Code, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstained? Great, the motion passes. Any other updates? All right, thank you. And we'll go ahead and turn it over to University Affairs for their update.
So for University Affairs, I don't have much to report except on December 14th, we wanted to make open forum like more a thing, because usually we don't get many members of the public coming to our meeting. So we're thinking about making it more of like a listening meeting for our last meeting to get ideas for referrals for us to draft over winter break.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Any questions on the University Affairs report? Already seen none. We will go ahead and turn it over to our executive director. He is also out today, and I'll be reading his report. Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving week. Hope you had a great weekend. He's still fighting a nasty cold, so his was a pretty quiet weekend, but he does have a couple things to report on. So first of all, we have finished the interview process for the accounting generalist and the assistant director of the Children's Center, and have one more interview to complete, which is the office manager's position at the Children's Center. At the personnel board meeting tomorrow, we will be requesting to post several positions, including the supervising teacher, another teacher position, the risk and facilities manager, and several coaching positions, and sadly, the executive director's position. Don't want to think about that quite yet. He's also happy to share that we've been moved over to the new web format on campus. So please check out our new look on the web. He also wants to give a big thanks to Tyler and Ariana and the marketing team for working so hard on this project and for so long. And this past weekend, ACUI honored and recognized Patrick and Deborah with the Dawn and Noel Hind Distinguished Service Award. They were referred to as the dynamic duo, and I completely agree with that. But he says, just enjoy the start of the holiday season and please be kind to all. Are there any questions on Patrick's report that I could maybe answer, I guess? Alrighty. Also, we'll move on to Asia. Asia's out this week, so hopefully she's enjoying her break. Definitely well deserved. But we'll go ahead and turn it over to our faculty advisor, Dr. Veda Board, for her report.
Or not. Good morning, everyone. I do hope that you had a wonderful weekend and that you're looking forward to whatever you're going to be doing toward the end of this week. I know that a lot of you all blew in today, and I appreciate your being here. I think that's always really important. This is a week for many of us, a week of thanks and giving thanks. And so first of all, I would like to start off by thanking you for allowing there to be a faculty voice at the table with you. For me, it is very important to be here And normally I try to get here on Monday morning and start my week with you. Many faculty are out there thinking those same things. Last week, for example, as we say, we are in solidarity with the job action that was taken on campus. And I'm hoping that many of you heard from faculty members about that particular action and what it means to a lot of us in terms of support roles. So again, while we're not taking action specifically in the classroom, it is important for us to share the voice of how what we do here on campus cannot be done without others. So thank you for that voice. Next, I'd like to thank you for coming to school. And that seems like a ridiculous thing to say, but post-COVID, one of the most important things that I know most of us do every day is to get into that frame of head space and get on the road, walk, cycle, however we get here, to be here with each other. And as a faculty member, acknowledging to you how important your voice is in the classroom as an extension of what we do, and sharing with your peers what's going on in class and how that actually changes their lives. And then finally, I would like to thank you for all that you do on campus. And that is really an important thing. As we move forward to the end of the semester, I know some departments are bringing in candidates for new positions in their departments. I can only tell you, as a current and past member of personnel search committees, how many times we are told that what actually brings new faculty members to this campus is our students. And so just as was mentioned earlier, remember that the voices that you have go far beyond this room into the community and into your families, but also to people who are coming here to invest in the future of our state, our campus, and our students. So again, thanks. This is that time of giving thanks. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Ward, I know we are always so grateful for your presence here every Monday morning. And I know it's the best way to start our week. So thank you for your endless wisdom. Alrighty. We don't have any unfinished business. We do have some new business to approve. Line item A is to approve the CDE and CFA resolution in regards to funding for the preschool program for the 2024-25 school year. And you'll see that in attachment 3. Is there a motion? Senator Dunn. Thank you. Is there a second? Senator Saravia, thank you. Any discussion on this motion? Alrighty, seeing none, all those in favor of approving line item A, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstained? Great, the motion passes. We'll now go ahead and move on to line item B, which is to approve the following clubs to be chartered through AS. It looks like we have Math Club and In the Loop / Knitting and Crochet Club. Is there a motion? Senator Saravia.
I move to approve line item B.
Thank you. Is there a second? Senator Toledo Carranza, thank you. Any discussion? Yes.
What's the difference between being chartered through associated students versus just CSUN in general?
Yeah, so you're probably referring to like being recognized with the MIC maybe. So when we're charted through AS, they have to go through like the constitution review process at judicial court, excuse me. And so they'll go over that, and then with the constitution, they're allowed to receive funding from us, like an annual budget. And then when it comes to like being, I guess you could say, more recognized with the university or the Matador Involvement Center, they have to just ensure that they've completed like an alcohol prevention training at the MIC, and that they've attended like the Shine or the Matador Involvement Center Leadership Conference, and that obviously they're members of the club, like the board are all recognized like they're in good academic standing, I should say. Yeah. Any further questions? Alrighty, seeing none, all those in favor of approving line item B, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Any abstained? Alrighty, the motion passes. Thank you all. We don't have any information items or discussion items. We do have 2 legislative referrals today. The first one is from Vice President Anderson, titled "Urge the University to Implement Transparency of Cost of Course Materials." So the request is as follows. This request is to revise and implement a more transparent system for courses that require additional cost materials such as books, programs, and platforms. So as suggested by the cabinet, a $sign and essentially be like $1, $2, $3, or $4 signs. And that can be a key that can be implemented on the side of the portal when enrolling in classes. Each $sign will represent a range of how much is expected to be spent by the student. For example, $1 sign could range between $1 to $25, etc. Many students expect to enroll in a class that may look like it's inexpensive, but once the course officially starts, students are sometimes asked to purchase a separate platform that can cost up to $350 just to be able to submit homework, which makes it clear that the platform is required. Very similarly, Cabinet also brainstormed that the syllabi should be shared at the same time frame when enrolling in classes to allow more transparency and to allow students to make decisions on classes based on their preferences. This was suggested to go to University Affairs, and that's where it will go. Our second legislative referral today is from Senator Toledo Carranza, titled "Change of Chair of Diversity and Inclusion and Committee Position Titles." The request is as follows: to change the title of the Chair of Diversity and Inclusion to the Chair of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and to further change the title of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. This was suggested to go to Internal Affairs, and Internal Affairs it will go. All right, those are all the legislative referrals. Are there any announcements from the board? Yes.
Hi, so in doing the minutes for the past couple weeks, luckily this won't be a thing this week, but I just want to remind everybody, and thank you, Senator Saravia, please ask to be recognized. Otherwise, your votes will not count in the minutes. Thanks.
Thank you for that lovely reminder. Any further announcements? Just want to remind you all, I did send the link to RSVP for Reboot Camp. Please do that. If you want to be entered into the fun giveaways, do that by December 1st, but might as well just go do it now since you already have the link. Any further announcements? The book fair is coming up.
Hi, yes, the book fair is next Wednesday. I had some flyers in the office, so if you guys just so happen to have not gotten one, it's going to be on the front desk. I believe Paige has one on her door as well. And if you guys know anyone that you would like to personally invite, I have mini flyers that you guys could give out as well. And you're going to find those flyers all over the College of Humanities departments and classrooms and stuff like that. And I'm going to go to some University 100 classes today to encourage freshmen to come and see the book fair because I think it's really important. And if you guys have any other events that you guys would like me to mention to these freshmen, feel free to let me know. I'll be more than happy to. But yeah, that's the only update I have.
Thank you. And that is November 29th, correct? Yay. And yeah, you can even get a signed copy of a book, which is super exciting. Awesome. I guess I just can't be quiet today because I have 2 more announcements. Reminder, Commuter Week is next week on November 29th and 30th. So the 29th we'll be handing out donuts at some of the parking garage spots, just to welcome and kind of thank our commuters. And then on the 30th, we'll have a commuter fair right out here in the Plaza del Sol in the USU. We'll have different departments like the Metrolink will be there. We'll have kind of parking and transportation services, our bike shop, Institute for Sustainability. So a great time. And we'll be giving away lots of cool giveaways like parking permits for the spring, not just like a day pass, but a literal permit for the whole semester, and $50 gas gift cards throughout those couple of days. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. I will be sending a sign up sheet after this meeting that you can just sign up if you want for a time slot to hand out donuts or to table at the commuter fair. So if you can, I'd really, really appreciate that. Again, that will count for an office hour. So just, obviously when you sign up, let Golden know that, one of your office hours will be tabling or passing out donuts in the morning. Any further announcements from the board? Alrighty, seeing none, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Golden for our final roll call.
Vice President Anderson, Senator Bovnagry, Senator Chavez, Senator Doe, Senator Dunn, Senator Kaddish, Senator Iman Khan, Senator Awais Khan, Senator Mezabin, Senator Radionov, Senator Saravia, Senator Scher, Senator Tybee, Senator Toledo Carranza, Senator Tran. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you to our Attorney General. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 10:22 a.m. Thank you all.